Okay, this is my great grandmother's what they call a Dutch firmipan bread. She taught this to me, gosh, probably close to 14 years ago. She's no longer with us, and I've continued to make this. It makes quite a bit of bread. I can make 6 loaves of bread. Okay, let's start. So I have my lukewarm water already in here. I'm going to add some flour and my yeast into it. Let's give that a stir real quick. And you kind of want to make sure that there's not too many giant lumps. You want to make sure that the yeast is really mixed in there. Okay, now we're going to add, let's do our sugar first. So we're doing just under half a cup of sugar. There's not a lot of like actual measuring in here. It's all kind of just do it. I don't know how else to explain it, but it does have measuring, but we just kind of go with the flow. And then we're going to do our salt. Okay, so salt. Okay, and the sugar. Now we need our powdered milk. I always have lots of baking ingredients because that's what I do. It's one of my relaxing things when I have a chance. Okay, and now we need our oil. Where did I put you? Okay, now I'll get my oil. Ooh, almost spilt it. I have a giant thing of oil as well. That's why it's in this yogurt container. Just makes it a little bit easier for pouring. Okay, we got that all in there. Okay, so we're gonna stir this, and then we're gonna start adding some more flour. Sorry, just moving some stuff out of the way. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot the eggs. We need eggs. Okay, so the measurements are 4.5 cups of warm water, a half or less of white sugar, 3/4 cup powdered milk, 3 eggs, 3/4 cup of oil, and 4.5 teaspoons of salt. Okay. On to our flour. Okay, so after this, it says that you add enough flour to make a soft dough, which they're saying it's about 10 more cups of flour. Like I said, I don't really measure this part. I kind of go by feel. Just how my great grandma taught me. They were Mennonite family from Saskatchewan. My great-grandmother and my grandmother always spoke Low German when I was little. Not very many people around them spoke it. They had a few friends, but I didn't get to learn it because they didn't speak it very often. And I was very young when they were constantly playing cards and speaking in Low German. So after a little bit here, I'll start to use my hands. I do use gloves for this because I really find it easier to be able to stop if I need to and deal with my children. Okay, now I'm gonna have to start using my hands. And you can add things to this. My mom at her coffee shop in Spence's Bridge, she makes her own bread, the same recipe I'm doing right now. She makes white bread, brown bread. She sometimes has all sorts of multigrains that she adds in. Sometimes I like to have flax and sunflower seeds in mine. So every once in a while I do that. My husband and I don't think my kids like it very much. So while I'm doing this mixing, I'm also making sure I'm grabbing all flour off the sides of the bowl just to make sure that I'm not missing any of the yeast or anything like that. It should be already mixed in fairly well, but I just do it because I don't like to miss anything. This is the fast part of making the bread. After this, it's a lot of letting it rise, punching it down, letting it rise, punching it down. And then there's once, I think I let it rise, let's see. I let it rise 3 times at 15 minutes, punch it down, twice, punch it down, and then I make it into loaves. And then I let it rise for another 45 minutes to an hour, and then I pop it in the oven. My great-grandma and my grandmother, they were very best bakers ever. They constantly had the bread smell in their homes, or goodies baking, or my great-grandmother made this one treat that I love still. I make it whenever I can, but it's called a Rice Krispie peanut butter chocolate roll. Oh my gosh, it is so addictive, it's not even funny. Or the peanut butter marshmallow square things, I can't even remember what they're called, but they were delicious. Also, going to school in a different town, my grandparents lived in that town, and my favorite was getting a message at the office to come to my grandparents' place for lunch, because I just knew it was going to be mashed potatoes and some kind of meat and gravy. Oh, it was always just the best. I loved it. I miss them very much. Okay, so now I'm at the point where I'm just pretty much kneading in as much flour as I can to get it to that soft, not quite sticky dough. My mom doesn't like my big orange bowl. She thinks that I should get a giant metal one, but I've had this bowl forever, since before my kids, and I like it. It's perfect. I'm actually pretty sure my mom's the one that got me this bowl. Okay, I usually take out this dry stuff because it won't knead in. It's some of the really dry dough that really doesn't knead into it. So now I will add a bit more flour, and this is where I start just doing little bits of flour until it's to the until the dough's to the consistency I want, because I don't want it too sticky, but I don't want it too dry either. Okay. Oh, I remember why it was so long since the last time I made bread, because this wrist doesn't like it anymore. Oh, sorry. Totally shaking the whole table. Might be a bit of a bumpy video. I also like to make my own pizza crusts because I can add in spices to my crusts. It just makes it so yummy. If you add like some garlic powder, some salt and pepper, well, not salt, but pepper, and oregano into it, oh my goodness, your pizza crust will be amazing. Still pretty sticky. We're getting there. It's coming. This is also quite the workout. Workout before you eat some yummy bread. The worst part for me is that usually my husband's home, and by the time I'm done baking and everything, he doesn't even let the bread sit. After it comes out of the oven, he just eats half of the loaf and calls it one slice. Drives me crazy. I think we're pretty much there. Let me just see how sticky. Sometimes it's not easy to feel the stickiness through your gloves. Just gonna wash my hands real quick. Okay, so at this point you can take off your gloves because you shouldn't be getting too much stuck to you. I should have cut my nails because I hate getting dough underneath my nails, but we'll deal. This way it's a lot easier to feel how sticky your dough still is. Pretty close. Whew. Okay, so I think we're pretty good. This part I usually have something down, but my grandmother always told me to put a little bit of oil into your bowl once you're done kneading or mixing, so that when you go to pull it out of the bowl to knead again, or knead in the bowl, I prefer to knead in the bowl, you'll be able to pull it right out if it's sticking. Sorry, it's a little bit too much oil in here. Okay. All right, so there's our big bowl of dough. I'm gonna set that here, cover it up, and let it rise for 15 minutes, and then we'll punch it down.